webinar on Pharmacy Informatics Residencies. We're delighted to have you join us, and we're going to be discussing various aspects of the informatics residency application process, preparing yourself and getting yourself ready for that, and then transitioning from the residency as well into the practitioner role. So we'll discuss a few of the objectives that we're going to be utilizing during this webinar today. We're going to identify characteristics and experiences of successful pharmacy informatics residents and resident candidates. We're going to describe the process of applying to and selecting the ideal program. We're going to give examples as well of role and responsibilities of a pharmacy informatics resident. And then finally, we're going to list the types of pharmacy informatics employment opportunities and the transition into a full-time informatics role. So all that to say, you're in for a real treat. I'm Dr. Beth Breeden, Associate Professor and Director of Graduate Studies in Healthcare Informatics at Lipscomb University's College of Pharmacy in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm also the PGY2 Pharmacy Informatics Residency Director. We have joining us Dr. Stacy Lynn English. Dr. English was our PGY2 Informatics resident at Lipscomb, and she's now the Pharmacy Information System Specialist at Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters in Norfolk, Virginia. We also have Dr. A.J. Tier joining us. A.J. is an outpatient pharmacy principal domain specialist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center here in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'll start the process as we prepare to cast your net for an informatics residency. We're going to talk to you about methods and processes that you can utilize to make yourself a more viable candidate. So let's start out with the types of informatics residencies that are available currently. So we currently have PGY1 pharmacy and PGY2 pharmacy informatics residencies. So it's the combination of the first and second year in one residency. That takes 24 months. And we've got a number or n equals 3 currently with these number of residencies that are available. We have also the PGY2 Pharmacy Informatics Residency. That is the second year residency in the process. That takes 12 months to complete. And we currently have, at the time of this recording, 24 of those residencies. The traditional residency would start in July of each year and then move forward to the end of June of the following year. So these residencies are full calendar years as we move forward for the 24 months or the 12 months. So we're very excited to share some of the student resources that are available for residencies, and those residency resources are available through the slide set. So 2 links for you to review if you've not already. One of those is the ASHP Student Residency Guide, and that's a great resource, quite a comprehensive list of items that are in that residency guide, everything from a pharmacy residency, things like why should I do a residency, interview skills packet, even a glossary of terms. If you've heard several terms and are trying to figure out what those terms mean, the glossary is available. You can move into preparing for a pharmacy residency. It has a list of those residencies that are available, different national meetings, ways to expand your network. It moves through the application process to talk to you about forecasts and how you're going to apply. It gives you a really great timeline so that you'll have a checklist to go by as you prepare for that application process. And then on that link, it rounds out to what every resident-bound student should know, match resources as you go through the residency match, and then also post-match resources. So it's a very comprehensive residency guide for you, and I'd really recommend that you develop an affinity and an association with that right now to strengthen your opportunities in the desire to be an informatics resident. The second link will also refer you to an ASHP resource, and that is selecting a residency. So once you've determined that you want to move in that role, then it's great for you to understand a bit about the residencies that are out there. So some of the questions and things that you'd want to answer would include the accreditation status of that residency, a bit about the program quality. You'd want to know about the patient population and services that are offered there, as well as is there a teaching commitment? associated with that. Are you working with other residents? Are you working with a local college of pharmacy, as in our residency, where you would have a bit of a teaching commitment and give you an opportunity to evaluate the academic opportunities as well? You'd want to know about service commitment, the work environment, the different types of residency projects that you would be working on. How competitive is that program? What's the competition like for being able to secure that position? And how many positions are available? Is that just one, or are there two? So these two resources that are linked there for you offer you a tremendous amount of information all in one resource. So we encourage you to view those links and to be familiar with the material that is available in there. So let's talk a bit about, as you've determined that you want to pursue this informatics residency, and you know about the programs, you're aware of their accreditation status, you're really ready to make a move and start looking at that particular program. What are some things that you can do now while you're in pharmacy school to develop advanced status, characteristics that we see in candidates that are applying for and securing these positions? So some of those things, the pearls that we want to share with you today would include creating or maximizing those opportunities. So have you completed informatics courses or any research projects, potentially internships in the summer? Does your program offer that? Those would be good questions to ask. What about IPPEs or APPEs? Do you have those available at your College of Pharmacy in informatics specifically? So we're starting to see more and more of those opportunities becoming available. So make yourself aware of what those resources are for you while you're in your pharmacy program. We're starting to see students who have secured a dual degree or a certificate of advanced study. One example would be the PharmD and a master's in health informatics, or potentially a PharmD and the certificate in healthcare informatics. So that shows that you are developing and securing advanced training and education in this area, in this field. Another item that you can look at is to inquire about informatics elements that are being utilized where you work or train. So when you're on those IPPEs, those APPEs, it would be great for you to look at the type of EMR, or the electronic medical record, that's being utilized at your facility. Any type of predictive analytics or data analytics projects, it's always great to ask about those. What type of technology and automation are being utilized? So those types of questions you can inquire about at any site that you're currently working, whether that's the community sector, in the acute care or hospital sector, in specialty. If you're looking at IPPEs or APPEs at corporate settings as well too. So these are all items that are kind of referring back to the fact that pharmacy informatics is foundational to any area of pharmacy in which you'll practice. And don't feel that you need to have advanced competencies and skills in this area. I think just inquiring about the opportunities, projects that you may be able to help on will start getting you that really coveted experience in the area and make you a known entity to that site in which you're working for later opportunities, whether that's employment or if they offer a residency and they know that you are a known entity to them and that you'd worked on projects with them. So volunteer to work on some of those projects. Again, just we all had to start somewhere, so you'll want to dive in as early as possible to make yourself more of an advanced candidate as you do jump into the process of applying for the residency. You may also contact the residency program in advance of applying and introduce yourself. It may be an email to introduce yourself to the residency program director, or you may attend the mid-year meeting. As a fourth-year student, you're looking for a PGY1, but you know that you ultimately want to look at a PGY2 in informatics. It's always a good opportunity to reach out to that RPD, that program director, to indicate that if they had any extra time, you'd be open for an introduction, or to go by their residency showcase just to introduce yourself and and indicate that you're interested in the program. So these are ways that you can make yourself known and can get to know the program even before you apply. Additional characteristics of advanced candidates. Things create the maximize the opportunities, get to know leaders and folks that are leading this field now. So follow some of those informatics leaders on social media in their blogs. So whether it's Twitter or different types of blogs that are out there and that are offered, or Instagram. So it's good to see what they're commenting on, what they feel is notable. So follow those leaders and you can gain access to some current and recent information in the space in this area. If you have an opportunity to shadow or interview pharmacy informaticians or faculty or residents or maybe students that are in the dual degree programs, utilize that opportunity as well to get to know them a bit and to see what they do on a daily basis. And then maximize opportunities for additional education and training. So things that you could do right where you are now. Can you gain competencies in Excel pivot tables, or different types of elements of the Excel spreadsheet that we use for analytics at this point. Looking more into EMRs, electronic medical records, and utilizing those where you are. Computer programming is not a requirement, but we are starting to see several candidates who have computer programming experience. Experience in data and predictive analytics. That may be things around Watson Analytics, IBM Watson's product, or around Tableau or different products like that. Mobile app creations. Maybe you created a mobile app in one of your courses, or you're using artificial intelligence, or you've had a strong genomics course, and personalized medicine has been an area of interest. And one of the most recent, of course, is what we're seeing in healthcare development now recently with blockchain, and that's the platform on which that digital currency, Bitcoin, is based. So we've got a tremendous amount of space and energy and things that are going on relative to blockchain currently. So I would encourage you to become familiar with that as well too. Next, you want to update your CV. I would always encourage students and residents to add a section that includes technical skills such as programming and software that you have competencies in. Maybe you have additional certifications or credentials with the EMR in the industry, or you have a badge from different projects like Microsoft or IBM projects. So share those and update those on your CV, because that's going to catch the attention of an RPD who's looking at your CV. And so that takes us to the next section. We're going to have Dr. Stacy Lynn English talking to you about the residency selection and application process.
Thanks, Beth. As she said, my name is Dr. Stacy Lynn English, and I will be discussing the residency selection and application process. One of the great resources that ASHP has available is the online residency directory. The online residency directory allows you to search for residencies, whether they be PGY1s or PGY2s in a certain specialty. You can specifically search for combined PGY1, PGY2s in Pharmacy Informatics. As Beth said, there are currently 3. Or you can search for PGY2s in Informatics, like as Beth said, there are 24. And they will show you where they are on the map. As far as the application process, it's very similar to when you are a PGY1, except with a few key differences. So the first thing that needs to occur is the application submission via Forecast, which is ACE, which is where all residency submissions go. There are several resources available on how the application to Forecast works, and as well as the matches, which is the program which actually matches you with a residency program. And that is a relatively simpler process. Second, after you submit your application, usually there's a phone interview. On this slide here, there's a link to a guide on phone interviews and gives some really great tips, with some things that you should and shouldn't do and how to prepare. If the phone interview goes well, there's usually an on-site interview. Again, there's also resources for that as well. And then the residency selection via the match. in that link there will show you some resources on how the match occurs and how you can come up with the best game plan to get what you desire. An additional resource is the Get the Residency AHHP's Guide to Residency Interview and Preparation. It's a really good book that kind of walks you through the application process for residencies and gives you a timeline as well as things that you should be doing to make sure that you're properly prepared. When you're thinking about which residency that you want to do, fortunately now there's a lot more selection in informatics residencies than there have in the past. So you really have the opportunity to determine which program will be best for you and what your career goals are. Some considerations in this list is not all-consuming. First, you want to think about whether you want the informatics residency to be accredited or not accredited. So if it's accredited through ASHP, but there are some that are not. And that might be because they are a relatively new program and they haven't had the opportunity to go through the accreditation process yet, or they choose not to. And that's something that you have to determine is accreditation, if you value it enough, if you put a high value on it to where a great program that might not be accredited is suddenly off your list. You want to think about the location and the cost of living because it is still a residency program, so you are making less than some of your retail counterparts are, so you want to make sure that the area where you're living is a salary that you can live off of. Some informatics residencies offer degree opportunities, whether that be a certificate in healthcare informatics to a master's in healthcare informatics. While I was at Lipscomb, I had the opportunity to participate in a master's of healthcare informatics program, which was a wonderful opportunity for me and just fit for my career goals. So if that's something that you're interested in, that would be something else to look for. Another thing that is a core responsibility for most residencies, and it's not specific to informatics, is on-call responsibilities, where you are the person who is called if anything happens. The on-call responsibilities may look different from program to program. It may be that you are on call once every week to once every 3 months. And it could be whether your on-call responsibilities are just related to informatics issues or whether you actually are on call for clinical issues as well. Another thing to consider is whether you have preceptor opportunities. If you have a passion for helping pharmacy students who come behind you and really making sure that they succeed, making sure they have preceptor opportunities would be very important, as not all programs are able to offer that. You really want to make sure when you are considering a certain program that you reach out to the previous residents, because nobody can really tell you what the program is like except for them because they've gone through it. And you want to ask them not only what the program was like, but ask them what they're doing now and how did their residency get them there. You want to consider the projects. Every residency is a requirement that you have a year-long project. That's a research project, so you want to make sure you evaluate whether they have opportunities that interest you. The rotations that are available, if you want to have a clinical rotation, specifically if you want to have like an ambulatory care rotation, you want to make sure that those rotations are available. And you need to ask what electives they have available. If, per se, you have a really strong interest in predictive analytics, that would be a rotation that you want to look for or see if they have something that they can work on. And fortunately, many residency program directors are flexible enough to try and tailor that residency to you. I know mine was, and it was a great experience. Again, you want to consider the salary, just because of, again, especially for whether it's comparable for the cost of living in that area, staffing responsibilities, whether you are working in staffing in the pharmacy or not, and then whether you have software certification opportunities. For example, if the hospital uses Epic as their EMR, do they have any opportunities for you to do any training in it, something that you can put on your CV and can take that experience onward? Whether there's any teaching opportunities, if that's something that interests you, will you have the opportunity to give lectures at a local college of pharmacy from time to time? Sometimes that looks like not specifically giving lectures to students, but maybe providing continuing education to pharmacists and to other staff. And then your team size. How many other pharmacists will you be working with? Do you have will you have other co-residents? Are the pharmacists that you're working with, are they going to be on the pharmacy side or on the IS side? Just all things to keep in mind, just to make sure that you are choosing the right program for you. Just to give you a little idea of what some of the past match results are. So I guess I should give you a quick background on the match. So the match provides an early process to help applicants obtain positions in residency programs of their choice and to help programs obtain applicants of their choice. And this is a similar program that's used in other health professions such as medicine and dentistry. And it's important to note that not all residency programs participate in the match. So on this slide here is the match results for the combined PGY1 and PGY2 informatics residencies. As you can see, in 2015, there was one residency. It was not filled early, meaning that refers to the programs and positions that filled through the early commitment process, where a position in a PGY2 program could be committed to a current PGY resident in advance of the matching process. And then those programs that fill all their positions through the early commitment process did not go into the matching process. And if a program filled some but not all of its positions through the early commitment process, the program and positions that were not filled through that process went into the matching process. So in 2015, there was one program. The program did not fill early, so it went into the match. After that, the one position went into the match, and it was filled, and everything was fine. In 2016, there were no combined programs, so none in the match whatsoever. And then this most recent year, there were 3 programs. Each had one position. None of them filled early. Of the 3 that went into the match, all of those were filled. And the link here will show you is to the match results that I'm describing here. So as far as the PGY2 programs, as you can see, there's been an increase in programs, especially over the past 3 years. In 2015, there were 20 programs with 2 that filled early and 18 that went into the match. Of the positions, there was 20, again, 2 filled early, 18 went into the match, and of those, 11 were filled and 7 were left unfilled. In 2016, it was a very similar thing where we had 21, 4 positions were filled, or 5 positions were filled early, 16 were in the match, and all of them were filled. And then this year, there were 22 programs with 22 positions, 5 filled early, 17 were in the match, 13 were filled, and 3 were unfilled. One of the great things about the match is that if a position is not filled during the match, I guess during phase 1, and perhaps you don't get a residency during the first phase 1, there's also now phase 2, where there's still opportunities where you have a second chance to really find a program that really fits for you. And then even after that, there's still opportunities there. But the point of what I'm trying to get here is that there's a ton of opportunities here, and a lot of opportunities for you to find a program that's right for you. So next, we're going to transition to AJ and his discussion from transitioning from a resident to a practitioner.
Thank you, Stacey Lynn. A little bit more about me is that I graduated from Butler University and I completed a PGY1 at Memorial Hospital of South Bend, and I completed my PGY2 in informatics at Indiana University Health. I currently am working as a principal domain specialist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and I work in our outpatient pharmacy group. So, applying for new positions begins in late November and goes until you find the job of your dreams. When starting to look at jobs, it is important to determine what resources are the best place to look for openings. Professional organization postings are a great place to look for open positions, and some organizations even have a fair to help up several. ASHP Personal Placement Services, or PPS, is a great opportunity at mid-year because you get a quick glimpse of a place of employment without even having to travel great distances for interviews. Another great place to look is LinkedIn. It is very important to set up your profile before applying for a position, though. While LinkedIn does have its job posting section, it may also be beneficial to connect with former preceptors, coworkers, and other pharmacists that graduated years before you. They may be able to connect you to the correct hiring manager where you might not have otherwise looked for. LinkedIn does have some of the same postings as you might see below in some of the other common job posting sites, and that depends on the organization's HR department and where they like to advertise. Finally, you can search through third-party job sites such as Indeed, Glassdoor, or Simply Hired, or some other ones. When looking at these types of positions, it may be worth noting that the hiring manager may not always be looking for somebody that comes with a residency. The unique part about being trained in informatics is that you learn quickly that there are hundreds of different software technologies that you may not have been trained on. They may be looking for somebody who has years of experience with a certain program or a set of skills that you could possibly not have had in such a short amount of time. Another thing about informatics trained pharmacists have going against us is that depending on the institution, the IT pharmacist may be underneath the pharmacy department or the health IT department. The pharmacy department is going to understand your training a lot better than somebody might from a health IT department that doesn't work with pharmacy that often. You will also most likely be contacted by headhunters who work for a recruiting company. It is important to note that these recruiters have vested interest in finding you a job because they will get a fee from a hiring hospital. From my experience, the hospitals and companies that use recruiters are smaller hospitals, usually in a more rural setting. They may provide a pretty good pay and benefits because they're looking for somebody to stay in that area for an extended period of time. To note, a lot of hospitals do not use them. It depends on the HR department. And if you want to be working for a more well-known hospital, the chances are low that a recruiter will be able to help you. It would be my suggestion to potentially wait to use a recruiter until your own searches have failed to land you a job. When searching for positions, it is important to be able to understand where your training may make you a strong candidate. At this time, most PGY2 informatics programs are hospital-based, so an inpatient pharmacy position is probably your best bet when looking for a position because it is exactly what you were directly trained in. The next most logical opportunity is the outpatient pharmacy. The more natural fit would be working for an outpatient pharmacy of a hospital because it might have been a rotation in your residencies or something that you may have had a lot of experience in your APPE or IPPE rotations. A lot of hospitals are starting to create outpatient informatics positions because of the financial benefit and how important it is to the core business. This is a position I ended up choosing, and I continue to learn more about the outpatient world and how it relates to the inpatient side of things. Your normal retail chains may also have positions in helping support their chain pharmacies. A lot of technology goes into running a retail pharmacy, such as the dispensing system, point of sale system, interactive voice response, interactive web response, and a lot of different small robots that they may use to count pills or automatically fill prescriptions. Some retail chains may even be starting their own specialty pharmacies. Another opportunity would be to work for an electronic health company. Each one of these has a module that is pharmacy specific that they may need help developing. This type of position usually requires a good previous knowledge of coding, so I would recommend looking specifically at those electronic health companies' websites for job openings. Another place to look is drug information repositories that help provide information to create clinical decision support for those electronic health companies. A pharmacist may be in charge of reviewing new medications that come into the market and making a pregnancy risk or dose range checking information available. This type of job usually requires some years of experience. Wholesalers and distributors might also have a few openings that would involve analyzing pharmacy data to help pharmacy inventory management. Many schools of pharmacy are starting to provide more opportunities with master's or bachelor's degrees. It may be possible to get a job teaching an informatics class at a college of pharmacy. Many informatics PGY2s require or offer medication safety rotation, and that is because the majority of medication safety recommendations involve informatics, and any changes that you need to make require some type of technical capability. Depending on your coding skills, it may be possible to get involved in a startup informatics company. This may be more difficult to do because you need to know the right people to even learn about the opportunity. Finally, you can pursue further education like a fellowship or master's degree in clinical informatics. After you finish applying for positions, hopefully you will be offered an interview. It is very common to have a phone interview to help determine if you're the right fit. From there, they may offer you an on-site interview. When interviewing, I encourage you to ask questions about the direction of the organization and where they are in regards to pharmacy technologies, which will help you determine if you have room to grow and learn with the company. Soon after, you will hopefully be offered a position and you will need to start your contract negotiation. Usually the company will provide you initial offering. If you have multiple offers, you are in a better place to negotiate because you have some numbers. You may be able to help increase your salary by letting the one hospital A know that you were offered this at hospital B. Unfortunately, a lot of hospitals do not have much room to budget on salary, so you will need to have some backup ideas in place to try and sweeten the deal. The most common would be help with moving expenses or licensing costs in that new state. If that is still not enough to help make your decision, you could consider if they allow you to work remote some days or potentially all the time, money to go to different conferences, or even the amount of monitors you have at your workspace. Finally, I would recommend you and encourage you to take a break. You have been working nonstop the past 2 years and probably longer than that with the amount of time you were at school. I would recommend taking at least 2 weeks or even a month off to do some traveling because you will never really have another great opportunity until you retire. If the job needs you to start because they have an upcoming deadline, see if you can negotiate some non-paid time off after the project is over. You finally have started your dream job and are nervous about getting started because you are not really sure you were trained sufficiently for what you were hired to do. Don't worry. Part of almost every job is learned after you begin. For example, I had never worked in an outpatient pharmacy for more than 30 days at a time, but I had developed all the skills I needed to in my PGY1 and PGY2 to help me learn how to be successful. One of the first things I recommend doing is trying to balance your work and your life. For the past 2 years, you've been working 8 to 10 hours and then come at home come home, and then start working on projects. There is a different level of expectation between residency and full-time employment. While you may be expected to work extra hours to complete a project or take on on-call hours, you should be able to go home early another day you are not as busy. It is important to make sure you are happy with your home life because it will increase your productivity when you are at work. I would recommend looking more in depth on the advice from the First 90 Days book by Michael D. Watkins. This can really be used anywhere you go, no matter if it's your first job or 15th job. From my experience, it is so important to start learning about the people you are working with because it helps develop crucial relationships. You will find out who you can rely on, and they may be able to direct you to the most proper resource if you have no idea where to go to start a project. My initial struggle related to not being as directly involved in the specialty pharmacy project I thought I would be spending most of the time I was hired to be supporting. I was concerned because it was one of the most interesting parts of my position that I was excited for. The way I overcame the struggle was learning everything that I could possibly do and from where I had been assigned. I then expressed my interest to my boss and asked for more responsibilities that I knew that I would have time for. I have eventually moved into a critical position in supporting conversion of our specialty clinics to our new specialty pharmacy system and am now looking for other opportunities such as building assessments. Another thing I am continually working on is because I have moved to a brand new city, I have friends around me. I don't have as many friends around me as I'm used to having. I believe an important part of making new friends is putting yourself in what may be an uncomfortable position and going to work events. Although you may feel uncomfortable, you can probably meet somebody else from a different team that will take you under their wing. I have gone to a Christmas party alone and another coworker's house to learn how to frame pictures. Both of these experiences have helped me network and become closer to my coworkers. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar on informatics residencies. Below are the contact information to Dr. Breeden, Dr. English, and myself. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to email any one of us. Thank you for your time and attention.